Hey, first grade friends, it's Mrs. Herbay. Well, guess what? It's time for another project. So I hope you guys had fun working on your hearts, and I can't wait to see what they look like. So now for our next project, we are going to be learning about two different things. We're going to be talking about dinosaurs and kind of some strategies to draw them and possibly the different kinds of dinosaurs. So we're going to take a trek back in history, but we're going to be combining dinosaurs with the present day. And if you guys ever have heard the book If the Dinosaurs Came Back, this is kind of going to be the inspiration for our lesson. So this is a finished example, and what's going to happen is we are going to be drawing a city, and we're also going to be making a dinosaur. And then when we put them together, it's going to be this really cool pop-up. So it's going to be folded like this, but then the dinosaur can pop up. And another thing that we can do is we can draw other cool stuff on this flat part here as well. So today, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be focusing on thinking about and brainstorming cities. So what I'd like you to do is grab a pencil and your sketchbook, and we'll get started. All right, first grade friends. This is the one thing, though, I miss about not having you in class is that normally what we do when I start this lesson is we brainstorm together as a class what are the things that we can find in a city. So it's kind of going to be one-sided because I can't hear what you are saying, but I want to throw out some ideas for you so that when you go to think about drawing your cities this week, you have some ideas. So first of all, let's imagine that we're taking a little trip downtown to the city of Pittsburgh, right? And let's think about what are some of the things that we see, right? So let's say we go through the Fort Pitt tunnels, whoa, right? And some of the first things I know that I see bridges, right, in the city. I see tall buildings, and some of them are office buildings, right? Some of them are apartments. So I see some stadiums, right? So those are kind of the big thing. I also see some roads, cars. But then as I get more into the city, then I can start to see what some of the smaller buildings look like, right? Oh, I thought of another big building, but it's as we get more into the city. There are sometimes hospitals, right? But then as we get closer in, we might see that there could be theaters where people see shows. There could be a museum. There could be a grocery store or a market. There could be a bakery. There could be an ice cream store. So these are some, there could be a church or a synagogue or a mosque or any other places where people go to worship. So these are kind of some brainstorms that you can start to think about when you think about designing your own city, okay? And another thing that we want to think about is some strategies for when we draw buildings. And buildings are mostly made up of geometric shapes, right? So if we would draw a building, we usually draw either rectangles, or we also might draw squares. Sometimes the rectangle is really tall and skinny, right? And then to jazz up these shapes, a lot of times we might add more geometric shapes on top of the geometric shapes that are already there, right? So if you look at some of the buildings in cities, they have fancier tops to them. Sometimes we could also put a curve on the top of a building. Maybe we want to sometimes there's a flag flying on tops of buildings, okay? If we were drawing like a church, it might look more kind of like that. So think about some strategies of drawing buildings. And then the other thing is that buildings in the cities have lots and lots of windows, right? But again, sometimes the windows can be different sized rectangles. Sometimes the windows might be circular. It just depends, okay? And so I want you guys to be thinking about that. And the other thing I want you guys to be thinking about is the word overlap. And overlap means when one thing might be in front of another. And so when we're drawing our city, we might see the first buildings that we see, but behind those buildings, there might be other buildings. And what that does is that gives us a sense that, wow, this is a really big city. So if we have buildings that are in front, but then we overlap and put some buildings behind, then our city will look even cooler, okay? And let's say we wanted to draw a bridge, right? We could draw a bridge where we draw a curve over top of a straight line, and then depending on where the bridge is, then there are things that support the bridge, but maybe there's things that are under the bridge, right? Maybe there's little houses or stores, okay? So this is our brainstorm, and this is what we would typically do on the board at school. And so I want you to maybe in your sketchbook kind of think about some ideas, maybe think about what you want to include in your city. And then once you do that, what we're going to do is we're going to get out this piece of paper that I gave you, okay? And it's rather big, and it has a fold in it, okay? And the fold is where this line here is the line where we will start drawing our city. So we don't want anything in this city to go below this fold line, okay? So go ahead, grab a pencil, grab this piece of paper, and then we'll get started. All right, guys, so we're gonna get started drawing our city. And what I want you to do is, again, this is our line that we don't want to go below. So you could even draw your pencil line on that line, okay? And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna start drawing your cities. The cool thing is that you might wanna leave room up here for the sky because maybe some things are flying. You know, sometimes airplanes fly over a city or a helicopter and whatnot. So you can leave room here at the top. But we want to kind of work fairly large. So when you start, and the other cool thing is you don't need to necessarily start right. You don't necessarily need to see all of the first building that you draw. So for example, maybe I'm only going to draw a little bit of a rectangle right there. So that's part of a building that's right there. Then maybe I'm going to touch down draw another rectangle. Then maybe I want something that's a little less tall and I want it to be wider. All right. Then maybe I want to have a few little stores. Okay. So I might draw one there like that. And then another one like that. Then go like that. And like that. So you want, in the front, you want your shorter buildings to be in the front, because as we go back, if we have a short building, we're not going to be able to see it. So then what I'm going to do is then I'm going to add my next layer. So I'm going to think about, what's going to go in the part that is behind what I just drew. And maybe I'm going to draw a building there. Maybe there's another tall one there. Maybe there is a bridge that's kind of behind there. And maybe there's some other buildings here. And then maybe I have some smaller buildings. Alright, so once you have put in all of your basic shapes for your building, then what you can do is you can go back. Mrs. Herbay's just going to fix this curve a little bit. Then what you can do is you can go back, and now we're going to start to think about the details, okay? So I'm going to say to myself, all right, what is this building? What does it look like, right? And so maybe there's a door, right, that goes into the building. So it's right here. And then maybe there are some windows that are going on the side of this building. Maybe there's some taller, thinner ones. And then maybe as they go up, they're going to get smaller. Okay. And then I would add the other ones. Like that. And then I could think about, what's the top of this building look like? Maybe it has like a little bit of fancy stuff there. And then there's like maybe a little top there, right? Maybe on my next building, I want to jazz it up. So I'm going to put a rectangle there. And then another rectangle there. And then maybe I want to make this, and then maybe on the top of this building there is a little bit of a flag. And then maybe can jazz up your buildings by just using different lines. I'll add some windows there. And then I might think about, what does the front of this building look like? Maybe there's a line there. Maybe there's a bunch of big doors. Into the building. And then how many rows of windows can I fit? Let's see if I do 1, 2, 3. Then I can do that the whole way up. Okay. Maybe this building is an apartment building, so maybe it has a little fence on the top, and maybe there's a tree growing on the top of that building. And let's see, how about maybe it's an apartment building, so the windows are a little bit fancier. And maybe the next set of windows is like that. Whoopsie, that's the silliest curve I've ever seen. Boop. So yeah, you can make different windows. You can put a curve on top of a rectangle. Okay. So you're just gonna keep going. Maybe maybe on the top of one building, maybe there is a helicopter for the people to fly away in, right? And so let's say maybe there's a market, maybe there's a sign on top of the market, right, that says what it is. Maybe it's Joe's store. And maybe it has in the front of it, there's like an awning. And then there's doors. Maybe some windows, maybe there's some rooms on top of the store. Okay. Oh, maybe there's an ice cream store, and maybe there's like a little sign outside the ice cream store that has an ice cream hanging on it. And maybe there's there's like a cool window here. And maybe there's another flashy sign up here that says, I'll make it a little taller. That says, I see. Well, Mrs. Herbey's gonna have to write that really small. Maybe I'll do it like this. I-C-E and then C-R-E-A-M. Maybe there's lights around it. Which could be fun. So you guys get the idea. This is going to take a while. So basically this week, I just want you to kind of brainstorm your ideas and then get started drawing some of your ideas. You probably won't get it finished, okay? But at least get everything sort of started or mapped in kind of as a start of how you want to start designing your city, okay? If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys on Tuesday.